Hey everybody, you are tuning in to Canary News Talk Livestream pre-stream. Thanks for being here. Boy, oh boy, we were trying to get an early start today, but it has been sort of a gauntlet of chaos over here, all sorts of technical problems, but I think we're going to be okay, everybody. Okay, well, sending out the text message here. There is a slight chance that we will be on YouTube today, but don't get used to it. If you got your YouTube notification, do not rely on going back to YouTube. In fact, we are just going to say it outright. If you're on YouTube, if you're a YouTube viewer, well, you've missed the show for a couple of weeks, probably. Don't get used to it. Go over to Rumble. Rumble's the place. That's where it's at for now. But, you know, when you're rogue outlaws on the internet here, just trying to tell some truth, you got to keep moving. So we may or may not be on YouTube today, but if you're watching this on YouTube, this is your warning. Go. You just got to go. You just got to go. Just get off of YouTube. You can still keep YouTube, but go make a Rumble account. Start making it your home because YouTube's mean. Other than that, let's get this party started, folks. Let's go.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary News Talk.
You're listening to Canary News Talk. Today is April 5th, 2023. We are live to tape on episode 609, and today, Faith Bait. And we're signing on from off the grid, Razzle Dazzle, best buddy Basil.
And my name is Gonz of Face Like the Sun Resurrection, director of the Age of Deceit films. Wife calls me the Cabana Boy, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from California to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's immersion phenomena, discernment. Discernment. You must discern, Basil.
You must. You simply must. Give it a try, darling. Yes, big, lots of little clues hidden hither and thither and yon about the deeper, more invisible things going on in the world that we can see and the world that we cannot see. And the more unusual thing about it is they're talking about it in the news. So we will certainly be addressing that. We got a good show today, Gonz. But first, let's open up that big old can of disclaimer.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys. Yeah, YouTube, we're good boys. Okay, let me give you a rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Yeah, we're doing it, folks. We're catching up on some of the more exciting aspects of the Trump indictment. Man, has the mainstream media, especially on the left, changed their tune. they've changed their tune quite a bit. But one thing is for sure, they are very worried about the spiritual warfare going on in America. Then we'll be checking in on Flippy using digital puppetry to control a robotic arm, much like the elites use politicians as digital puppets. I don't know, you get the point. We'll be checking in on World War III with the Taiwan's visit to the United States and what this means for the oncoming World War. Of course, Finland, some big news over in Finland and the border of NATO and Russia. And then just a couple of beautiful clips about money and what that has to do with anything. Then we'll be checking in with artificial intelligence, specifically, around the dangers thereof. But also, what does Bill Gates think? That's what really matters. And then at the end of the show, we'll let you know just how much toilet paper you need for a trip to Antarctica. But first, Gons, our lead stories.
It's all about the Trump New Age arrival.
We will launch a new age. I am innocent. They're coming after me.
Oh, yeah, they are. They're coming after former President Donald Trump. Of course, the indictment happened. The court hearing happened yesterday. The world is still here.
Arraignment. The arraignment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Latter day arraignment. Does that anybody do that connection? CNN had a reporter or a legal analyst, actually, Carrie Cordero, speak about the indictments and the whole situation here on Jake Tapper.
Your reaction now that you've had a chance to go through it, is it what you thought it was going to be, and are you unimpressed?
It is what I thought it was going to be in terms of focusing on the payments that were made, the falsification of the records, and really tied to the payment that was made to Stormy Daniels. In terms of a case that's being brought against a former president, it's a little underwhelming. There's not more to it. There's not more violations, tax violations. There's not an incredible new set of facts that we didn't know about publicly. It's really the facts of this case as they have existed for basically almost 7 years.
Wow.
Whoopsies.
So after all that,
Whoopsie
CNN coming out and saying, legal analysts saying that there's not much there. There's not a lot of there, Basil.
This is across the board. Vice was doing the same thing. I was surprised because all of the outlets you'd expect to be dancing in the streets, which you just heard it straight from her mouth. There was nothing new. Everything in the indictment was already assumed to be in the indictment. So everybody, I don't know, I guess was holding their breath to see if there was something more
there were
was going to
rumors
come out or whatever.
There were some headlines talking about how there might be some more stuff, some hidden stuff. They were egging people on or teasing people with that. But
yeah.
I went and read.
Well, it ended up being 34 alleged felonies, or they're trying to stretch it out to felonies or whatever, which I think it's strange. Of course, 33 would have been the magic number that would have given us some sort of hint, perhaps 34 as another clue being laid by the puppet masters.
I do think so. I think this is some kind of progress or breaking through some kind of barrier of the way it was or something. You know, it's like, he gets to move forward with the new age, like he talked about.
perhaps. But yes, you're right. I mean, the media across the board instantly, all of the outlets that have built their reputation on sensationalizing different aspects of Trump and his career and his family and his business and everything, even going so far as to just outright lie publicly and just to, get the ratings. All of them completely disappointed. Nobody has an optimistic look on things.
Yeah, well, I did read the actual, I think it was like a 16-page thing that listed all 34 items. And most of it, in college, you know how you cut and paste and try to stretch out certain paragraphs, and it looked a lot like that. A lot of cut and paste, a lot of insert different things here. But most of it was, he's planning to commit another crime. It's like we think he committed this crime, but really it's about maybe committing this other crime. And that was the whole document. Yeah. And it was really, I'm sure the legal analysts were really disappointed when they read it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I listened to analysis after analysis of, everybody's got their legal experts they're bringing on. And that's kind of how they got to trying to make these felonies out of misdemeanors, was that it has to, the bookkeeping irregularities they have to prove that it was specifically to cover up a federal crime. So and this is a federal crime that he was never even indicted on. So they have to prove that he committed a crime that he never was indicted on or convicted of in order to even make this stick. So Trump, I don't want to get into the full legal nonsense, but you get it.
Trump did the media a favor by going back to Mar-a-Lago and making a speech almost immediately after the whole thing. Yeah. Because, it allowed the media to have a moment of going back to their old ways, and
gave him something. He gave him something to report on.
So this is CBS News. I believe it is with John Dickerson as the anchor here. And he is asking a question. There's two panelists here. They're both political commentators. This first clip is of Ashley Etienne, I think is how you pronounce her name. And she's asked a question about the speech, the Mar-a-Lago speech, and her response.
Ashley, how should or how are, well, let's forget the should for the moment. How are Democrats sorting this moment politically in terms of how they think of former President Donald Trump and the Republican Party, but also what obligations, if any, Democrats feel to stand up for the rule of law and the idea that no one is above the law?
Well, I mean, here's the issue. I don't think Democrats are at all surprised by what the president said today. He's never been able to expand beyond his own interests. From day one, it's always been about Donald Trump, never about the interest of the country, never about, the American people, what's in their best interest. It's always been about Donald Trump. And that's what we saw again today. I mean, he continues to live in this alternate universe driven by alternative facts where he remains the victim in it all. And I think that's unfortunate. But, from a Democratic perspective, we've always stood up for the rule of law. I mean, I remember I ran the impeachment war room, the first impeachment war room, and we were thinking through what are the messages and how are we going to characterize this to the American public in a way that they could actually wrap their heads around it. And interestingly enough, we use the same phrasing that the district attorney used today, which is a scheme and a pressure campaign, all to supply and further Trump's interests rather than that of the nation. So we've always been advocating for the rule of law.
Yeah, the Democrat Party with probably more criminals in it. If you had to weigh the criminality of the Democrat versus the Republicans,
they're at least equal.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, of course. But this whole idea that there's this lady thinks that the American people are not intelligent enough to understand.
She just straight up came out and admitted to creating the social engineering narrative around the impeachment about crafting the language and communicating to the American people how they should feel about it. Just straight up on CBS coming out admitting that, the mainstream reporting is some sort of equation in the war room.
Yeah, it was in the war room.
Even labeling the fact that we came up with the word scheme. And that's
they're using it now. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. The most fun part is that it is believable, and it's incredible that she feels comfortable enough that she can come out and basically say, like, yeah, we tell the American people little white lies all the time just so we can get what we want.
Well, it's the awakening, Basil. There was another anchor, or actually a reporter here, political commentator, Leslie Sanchez, on the same interview here, CBS News. She wrapped up something from the Republican side. She's a Republican commentator.
The one thing that did come out of all of this is you have a lot of individuals, including folks that fell into the never Trump category, who are now looking and coalescing around the president because of this issue of rule of law, because Republicans have quickly come together to say this is a mockery of the rule of law. This is personal persecution. Real quick, for those of you just listening, on the screen, as she's talking about this, they flash up a tweet published by Jeb Bush, who got trampled by Trump in the 2016 election.
Oh, yeah. Smeared.
Yeah, it says Bragg's predecessor didn't take up the case. The Justice Department didn't take up the case. Bragg's first said he would not take up the case. This is very political, not a matter of justice. In this case, let the jury be the voters. Now, I find it interesting that he published this on Twitter on April 1st, because it gives him a little bit of immunity. If it goes sideways, he can say, it was an April 1st, prank. I wasn't really supporting Trump. Yeah. But anyway, I continue here. This is a farce. This is demeaning. And in so many ways, they feel that there was one person called it a nothing burger, that there really wasn't a lot there. And because of that, and I'll just real quickly point to, we talked about the first impeachment. That was the challenge with the first impeachment. There was probably more merit in the second impeachment because so much went into it and it looked so highly politicized that Republicans all came together against, the Democrats in opposition. And again, in a highly polarized sense, it leaves a lot of voters wondering how to parse the truth here, because everyone has taken sides. Right. And I think we're right back where we started. We're right back to where we started, Beth.
That's great.
And notice she called him President Trump. I thought that was interesting too. I know she's the Republican side of things, but he's not the sitting president, so interesting. Okay, but there is sort of a greater psyop taking place here, which I think is important to cover.
So you see, I also call myself a Christian nationalist, and that's not a bad word.
Wash your mouth out with soap.
Your dirty mouth needs a bath.
Psyops. And that comes in the form of mainstream media making the Trump-Jesus comparison a headline issue. So we have, again, usnews.com, Trump arrest prompts Jesus comparisons, spiritual warfare. And it talks about the devoted Trump conspiracy theorists. There's no coincidence and things of that nature. They explicitly talk about a Episcopal bishop named Reginald T. Jackson. He's sort of the voice against this type of Christian nationalism. Here's what he says. The comparison was denounced by Episcopal Bishop Reginald T. Jackson, who oversees more than 500 churches in Greene's home state, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and called her comments blasphemous and disgusting. Quote, while Marjorie Taylor Greene may put her political loyalty ahead of God, Christians do not. Now, for our sake here, I have the clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is what triggered the Episcopal guy here.
President Trump is joining some of the most incredible people in history being arrested today. Nelson Mandela was arrested, served time in prison. Jesus was arrested and murdered by the Roman government.
I mean, we get it, but to just pick up that talking point and run with it. So we got the Mandela effect, and then we have the second coming, or quote unquote second coming, some kind of antichrist setup here. But don't start talking about how Jesus was killed and that's exactly what's happening to Trump. It is a little inflammatory, I would say, but it's part of the psyop. She's allowed to say it because they can make headlines out of it. Yeah. Jackson said,
they love it especially because it harkens to Q.
Yes. Quote, those of faith believe Christ always has and always will stand alone. Yes. And I don't know Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal faith stuff, but if she was truly a Christian, she'd probably say the same thing. And she's just making an analogy here. Trump's personal, political, and professional history make him an odd choice to stand in for Christ, Christianity's savior and central figure. Yet, it's an outgrowth from Christian nationalism, a movement that fuses traditional Christian themes and imagery with conservative candidates like Trump, according to John Fay, a historian at Messiah University in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, who has researched evangelical Christianity's role in American history. Quote, they see this as spiritual warfare, and Trump is on the side of the angels, Faya said. Quote, in this view, Trump is politically a savior. He's going to restore America and will rise from the ashes in November despite the persecution and suffering, end quote. Trump has encouraged such beliefs, talking about the final battle, and then the QAnon thing here. So he called his campaign the final battle against his enemies, and by praising QAnon, a movement that views him as a crusader against what it says is a secret child-sacrificing cabal that controls world events. Again, no real reference there, just a sentence in the media here. In the Christian nationalist view, Trump's return to New York could be seen as an echo of Christ's triumphant entry to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, Faya said, with the exception that Christ rode a donkey and Trump arrived in a motorcade. Behind the religious metaphors, an online reaction of Trump supporters on Tuesday's arrangement was mixed, fragmented by competing conspiracy theories and Trump's own complicated role in the movement he helped build. So yes, this is it's sort of it's everything you want from the left progressive media to slam the whole party and religion and Trump, and it's just it's great. But even better, Rolling Stones had this article a few days before inside Trump's demands for a high-profile surrender. Quote, it's kind of a Jesus to Christ thing. This was before Tuesday, but there's a section here. The entire thing is based on a source. Of course, it's always a source.
An unnamed source. Unnamed source. Familiar with the matter.
As a source close to his legal team, close to Trump's legal team, said this, quote, it's kind of a Jesus Christ thing. He is saying, I'm absorbing all this pain from all around, from everywhere. So you don't have to, says the source, describing the message Trump hopes to send his supporters. The source says, quote, if they can do this to me, they can do this to you, as sort of, that's Trump saying it, in the source's voice. And that's a powerful message, end quote. The source goes on that says that Trump's mugshot will be anything but ordinary, owing to the Secret Service team surrounding him at all times. Quote, we may have a group mugshot, the official says. Quote, I wish I was joking. I'm not. So we know it's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden's not the Secret Service because he would have said, not a joke.
It's not a joke. Yeah. I would have loved to see a group mugshot. It's just to pile on to this whole thing, which, by the way, the left is the main propagator of this idea of comparing Trump to Jesus. Sure, Marjorie Taylor Greene did say the words, but the left-wing media loves to hammer it home. But what if the mugshot was like, posed like the Last Supper painting? You got Trump in the middle. He's kind of there in his jumpsuit.
If I was Trump, I would do it. Just really lean in. Within Trump world, that image is far from a cause for concern. Quote, what a great cartoon, scoffs the source close to Trump's legal team. Quote, they have to be close to him. So what? Trump's mugshot will be the former president surrounded by 12 guys in suits with guns wearing sunglasses.
Oh my gosh. This guy had the same idea.
Oh, yeah. The source noted that after Trump predicted his imminent arrest, his campaign has said it is experiencing a sharp increase in contributions. And I can confirm that from reports from Derwin. Derwin did say that he was receiving tons of email to prompt him to save America or, you're part of the pedophilia network. So, really strong-arming the public there to give money. But, yeah, it's true. It's the leftist progressive media who are really latching onto. It's almost like the whole Christian nationalism narrative was meant to be, building for a moment like this where they can really throw the entire party and Trump and religion and just everything under the bus all at once. Meanwhile, there are some who really buy into it and, make the Trump Jesus comparison, whether they are doing it in a meme manner or, just a joke, or they're, picking up on the theme or whatever. It does seem that there are a few people out there who believe that there is some kind of savior, element to Trump, especially in the context of saving America, saving the West.
Sure.
And not necessarily a biblical end times fulfillment, 1-for-1 ratio type of thing. But It's very interesting.
Well,
I think we need to keep an eye on stuff, and it's going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. It's going to keep getting worse. Totally. We dropped the story about the man being arrested.
Real quick. Let me make a comment on what you just said. Because I think this may be part of the difficulty in communication about the Trump as Jesus thing. Because it's one thing if you're somebody who pays attention to like biblical prophecy, and if there's a claim that Trump is Jesus or is the second coming of Jesus, or a quote saying some people consider him like Jesus. If you're a biblical prophecy person like we are here, you think, well, that that has the full connotations of revelation, and it has a historical significance moving into the future than just relating something allegorically to the past. And I feel like when a lot of these left-wing outlets talk about Trump as Jesus, they're not thinking, it doesn't occur to them that it's like, the second coming of Jesus has to do with the end of the world and the Battle of Megiddo and all these types of things. They're thinking it more as like a rhetorical, allegorical device to mock. But I think what they don't understand is when they talk about this to people who have even the most basic knowledge of, biblical prophecy, it's significantly more intense than just making fun of someone for whatever, thinking someone's Jesus or something. It's sort of a historical event to end the world as we know it. But maybe they would think that allegorically as well. Who knows? But it's just an interesting thing to watch as you see it happening in real time in the media.
Yeah, we'll have to keep track of especially which rabbis in Israel, what types of religious leaders from Judaism affirm a type of Trump messianic role. There have been, rabbis and stuff who have said that in the past, as we covered last week in Canary Cry Radio. But yeah, and again, I think it's just going to continue to be weaponized, and and what's interesting too is as the last point before we move on, the right-left paradigm thing that we've been tracking here, the pendulum swinging more in the favor of the right. For a while now, we are in this era where the right has more of an objective view on things, but also just sort of the data is on their side, kind of. The truth is sort of on the side of the right when it comes to certain issues, whereas the left is sort of building up a case, a lot of straw man stuff going on. I tend to think that as this takes place, and the polarization continues, or at least they're trying to build it, the right side of the political aisle will be sort of merged or forced or pushed into this radical extremist religion, Christian nationalism thing, and then sort of the more objective views will go back towards the left views or the left of the aisle. So in the next couple of years, I can see that happening, especially if Trump is to win. So just keep an eye on
that soon, huh?
I think so, yeah, because I don't. Okay. We always said that when things swing back left, it's going to be really bad. You might have some victories, but as the pendulum swings, each swing becomes more violent. So just something to keep in mind, something to keep track of. But yeah, there you go. Let's see. What is it? Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? It is Wednesday. Are you ready for
Wednesday?
Are you? What are you doing? This is.
So I was reaching for my water jar. It was too
Wednesday,
far away.
My dudes. Wednesday.
Hey guys, know what date it is? It's Wednesday. It's time for the Canary Cry News Sucker. Yeehaw!
Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Yep. That's true. Mm-hmm. Look at the calendar, folks. If you have your Canary Cry calendar, you can see it is indeed Wednesday. Besides the Trump indictment, Gons, anything fun happened the past couple days?
Well, I am drinking out of the New World Order Fantasy League cup that very select people might have. So I'll be drinking my iced coffee.
Ooh, that does bring up. Here, hold that up again. I don't have mine yet. You got to send me mine.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's big. That's bigger than I thought it was going to be. Very fun. So let's see here. Supply droppers around the world are receiving their supply drop. We're very happy. We've got a lot of good notes from everybody. As you can see, one of the items this time was the New World Order Fantasy League tumbler. Yes, quality drinkware covered in illustrations by Sir Dove of your favorite New World Order Fantasy League players. Very fun. We're going to have some big announcements.
Oh, we are?
Of the supply drop.
Ooh.
I think I'm going to save it for Friday.
Do it.
All things considered, because it's a big announcement. I think everybody's going to love it, and it deserves more time, which we do not have today. But just keep that in mind, folks. Supply droppers, stick around. You're going to be very happy about the announcements to be made, and everybody else should listen up because big opportunities coming.
So, real quick. You know, at the end of the disclaimer, it talks about how we're good boys. We're good boys.
We
you and I
good
are just
boys.
good boys.
Yeah.
You know, I turned 40 this year. I'm an old man, and I take exception to this idea that I am still a boy. See, I have I have this this ISO, very famous ISO.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
I have to live up to the manhood of reaching 40. So might have to redo some of that. Do you know what that's from?
Seems like doth protest too much there, Gonzo. No, I don't know.
It's a famous rant by a coach, as a college coach. I think his name was Mike Gundy or something. It was a few years ago. I have this other ISO from. It's a great, little rant about he's going after news reporters, the way they reported on college kids. But I have this other ISO that might pop up every once in a while.
That's why I don't read the newspaper, because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage.
Garbage.
I think it works. It works a lot for
hard R on the garbage.
Yep. So anyway, just want to let you know, Basil.
I'm a man. Okay. I'm 40.
Sure, buddy. Sure, you got it. You got it, big man. Whatever you say. Gons is a big, strong man, everybody, and don't you forget it. I don't really have anything exciting to say, except for I'm feeling much better. My ear is less swollen. I can actually hear out of it. The pain has subsided. Oh, and man, oh man, you really forget to take health. You take it for granted until it's gone. Then you're sick and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even thank God every day that my ear wasn't swollen. So I'm definitely in the midst of that. But there's lots of reasons to be thankful, Gons. And one of them is our executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right, folks. We're on the value for value model, which means we take no corporate money whatsoever, which also means YouTube doesn't make any money on us, which makes it so they're happy to just kick us off whenever they want. But the reason we don't take any corporate money is because corporate money in media, especially independent media, has gotten us into almost all of the trouble that the whole world is in as we speak. And so it was a commitment that we made to stay out of the system that works so diligently to not only control the news media, to narrate the news media, but also to profit from the news media. We take, no advertising dollars, affiliate codes, platform partnerships, nothing. But we are so generously and graciously funded by producers of the show. And the producers are you, dear listener, someone who listens or watches the show. If this show brings value to your life, then you have the opportunity or the responsibility to put value back in in one way or another. You can become a producer, put value into the show with your time, your talent, or your treasure, whatever works for you. Everybody's on their own journey in life, and everybody has their own value to bring. And look, in this world where human beings are so undervalued on a regular basis, whether it's from your friends, your family, your job, or your boss, or the DMV lady behind the desk, or, the countless people who are both devalued in society, and so make it their mission to devalue others. But not here. It's all going the other direction, folks. It's value, value, value. The producers have value, they give value, they receive value, and that's the only way that this show continues. So the executive producers are those who, in any one episode, come in extra generously and honestly with the value they receive, putting it back into the show, and we're going to thank them now. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Again, we started today's show with no executive producers, but quickly the EPs came in to the rescue, and we are so grateful to them, starting with executive producer Anonymous.
Anonymous, thank you.
Anonymous. And Anonymous came in with $111.11.
And 100.
Just thanks for always keeping it fun, guys. In the upside down reality, may this season pass over us as we gather to him, and may he bless and keep us in perfect peace. Anonymous. Thank you very much, executive producer Anonymous.
Where'd you find this?
We also had another executive producer come in we're very grateful for, and that is executive producer Morgan E.
Morgan E., thank you. You are on the streak.
I know. More champion, yes. And Morgan E. came in with a nice round number, so we won't disclose that, but is on a 13-episode streak.
Nice, thank you. Appreciate you.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, as of now, as I can tell, those are our two executive producers for the day, of which we are so thankful. And not only us, but the rest of the producers and the listeners around the world get to benefit from the generosity of these producers. And that's how it works, folks. It's value for value. Everybody wins. And if you want to learn more, you can go to canarycry.support. And thank you for your patronage.
Thank you, Morgan E.
Where'd you find this?
And thank you for your patronage.
Take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage.
And before we get started here, Gons, I do want to mention canarycrymeetups.com.
Oh, okay. It completely moved on, so hold on. Got to move things back. Slowing us down.
I know. See, folks, you can put it on the list, and it still gets overpassed.
I thought we were trying to keep things snappy today, but it's okay. This is not going well.
Okay.
Things are not loading.
Just wanted to mention it.
Okay.
Right. Well, that's okay. I'll just do it now. Go to canarycrymeetups.com, folks. It's a very important aspect of living a life, and that is making connections with other human beings. And making connections with other human beings that are fans of the same podcast is one of the best ways to make friends and or family, especially with things getting so squirrely in the world. Things are certainly not going to get better anytime soon, so you might as well have friends who understand the world through similar lenses as yourself. So if you go to canarycrymeetups.com, you'll see we got meetups going on this month and next month and throughout the year here. We've got the St. Augustine, Florida meetup this April 29th. We've got Glen Rose, Texas, May 27th and 28th. Houston, Texas on May 13th. Go to canarycrymeetups.com. Check them out. If there's not one near you, just put one on yourself. It's easy. It's low pressure. Don't worry about it. All you got to do is pick a time, pick a place, and we will tell the world. An excellent way to secure your apocalypse teams when things go south.
You cut out for a second.
You have something to say?
Well, no, you cut out, so I didn't know if you were still talking or okay.
This
By the way, folks, you will notice the technical difficulties today. They have been myriad. It's been technical difficulties top to bottom. So we're just happy to be able to be streaming it all. And so there you go, some perspective.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right, folks. It's time for the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways the robots are taking over the world and how there's nothing we can do about it. Of course, part of observing Flippy, investigating the social engineering that is behind the robot takeover of the world, sometimes we have to get a bit deep, and maybe perhaps a bit esoteric as to what the neuro-linguistic programming or the ethical programming goes into giving up our rights and our freedoms to an army of mechanical soldiers. And I thought this one was interesting in that context. This is coming from Hackster.io, and the headline is "Using Digital Puppetry to Control a Robot Arm." Dun, dun, dun. The term digital puppetry refers to several distinct techniques that all translate the manipulation of a physical input device into digital commands. Your computer mouse is a very rudimentary example of this, as the cursor mirrors the physical movement of the mouse. If you expand that idea, you can build an input device that mimics the structure of the digital model and that allows for perfect one-to-one control. The same idea is applicable in robotics, as demonstrated by I don't know how to JELLE.
Jelly.
It's either jelly or gel, or if we're doing like some Latin pronunciations, it's like yay.
I was going to say, yeah, yay.
Vermanderes' robot arm controlled by, get this, a smaller robotic arm.
It's Russian doll syndrome of Flippy.
That's right. We've got some Matryoshka Flippies going on here. This project follows the same concepts developed by pioneers like Jim Henson, who used digital puppetry to animate Waldo C. graphic. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't understand what that meant, but I'm going to keep going. A virtual character rendered in real time in the late 80s. Got it. Waldo C. Graphic, who is a virtual character. Vermandere can manipulate his small robotic arm, and a digital model of that robot arm on his PC will mirror the movement. At the same time, a larger robot arm that Vermandere constructed in the past will mimic those movements in the real world. I like how they have to stipulate that he created another robotic arm in the past. I don't know why that stuck out to me.
He's a serial robot arm maker. He's
strange.
He's preserving his job for the future.
So, and they have this picture below of this guy. He is sitting sort of profile to the camera there. And in front of the man is a small robotic arm. And the human, the man, has his hand on that small robotic arm as if using it like a controller. Now, behind the man is a larger robotic arm, same style as the one that he is manipulating. So the idea here is, if you haven't gotten it, he has a big one and a little one, and he moves the little one, and the big one also moves. Isn't that interesting?
Hey, you know what? Later on in this article, it talks about the Arduino Nano 33.
Yes. That's actually, was part of the next paragraph here. The small robot the digital model, and the large robot all look identical. So, okay. So I know it's going to get a little abstract, but let's do it. So he's got the small robot.
Yeah, Dr. Evil.
Yeah, exactly. The small robot controls a digital robot, and the large robot copies the digital robot. So you've got this picture of, kind of, I mean, I think about it in the context of people using the internet. We all have our identity, and we have an online identity. And in this case, would be like an avatar, a robotic avatar of our digital identity playing out based on the actions of our individual identity. I don't know. It has this very strange comparison to the transhuman sort of ascension of man. I know that might be a little ambiguous, but let me read just a little bit more and maybe it'll start putting these dots together. The small robot may be scaled down, but its joint angles all correspond to the joint angles of the large robot. To use the small robot as an input device, Vermandere just needed to monitor those joint angles. That was a straightforward task. As the small robot uses servo motors to actuate its joints, servo motors have built-in encoders, or, as in the case here, potentiometers for angle feedback. An Arduino Nano 33 BLE board both controls the servos and the monitors and monitors their angles. It then passes that angle data to the PC. The PC, in turn, animates the digital model to mimic the angles and controls the larger robotic arm. While small input and output errors can add up to result in imperfect control, this digital puppetry technique allows for easy and intuitive control of every joint. As a bonus, Vermandere can still use the small robot arm as a robot, since it has servos in its joints. Ooh, bonus robot. Got a little bonus robot. So, when we think about the narrative that is being fed to humans, society, about why the robots are so important to us is not because they want to replace us, but because they will make us more human. It'll cooperate with us. It will help us. It'll let us be. It's almost like let us be less robotic because we can let the robots do the robot stuff. Now, I'm not saying I agree with this. It's just sort of the vibe they've been giving out to get everybody to fall in love with robots. Now, I do think it's a little weird because the implication here is that, robots could be controlled by a human on the other side, sort of pretending to be the robot, and there's this digital interface between them. In this world where we are so close to having robot butlers, helping out around the house, I think it's an interesting sort of implication that, because the idea is that robots will put everybody out of work and then humans won't need to work. We'll just get to sort of enjoy our lives, let the robots do all the things. We just do thinking and cooperation and stuff. But in this case, we've also been talking about the control of those robots becoming an industry in itself. And I don't know if you remember this story, Gons, about low-wage workers in like Indonesia getting jobs to play NPCs
I remember.
A video game, an online video game, right? So there were no NPCs. They were controlled by humans, but they were part of the storyline of the game. They were working for the game. They were not players. And in this case, you can kind of see a world in which, a warehouse full of low-wage workers over in Indonesia are actually the ones controlling the robot butler that Elon Musk puts out. It would not be the first time that a big tech company has sort of lied about their AI doing human work. Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook a couple years ago, they said they had created AI to monitor, posts on Facebook, and they were boasting that their AI is just as good as humans as censoring and monitoring safety on the platform. And it turned out they just had secretly hired warehouses full of low-wage workers to pretend to be AI monitoring Facebook. So in the same way, I could see that's, a hint is being dropped here that don't worry, the AI won't kill you because it's actually a human doing a very good job at creating the simulation that you have a robot butler.
I messed up. For those of you, I got distracted by the robot arm feeding a strawberry to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you might know this riff, Basil. You know what song that's from?
I'm just going to say Master of Puppets.
Yeah, Master. It's a Master of Puppets. That's what we're talking about. This whole thing is reminds me of the voodoo doll. It's kind of like a miniature version. Then you have the digital as sort of the medium where the size and distance doesn't matter. And then you have the effect. So the Arthur C. Clarke quote about as technology progresses, it'll become indistinguishable from magic. I mean, this is it. This is the type of thing where you have literally a voodoo type of thing done through robots and technology.
Controlling, that's very interesting. Yeah, well, they love it. We love it. We're keeping an eye on you.
Can it play Metallica songs?
Only if you're controlling the little robot. Yeah. By the way, the guitar's back out, folks.
Yeah, I brought my Fender Jazzmaster here. So this is the
Jazzmaster.
Yeah. Beautiful guitar.
All right.
It's my number.
All right,
one.
Cabana Boy.
Yep. Cabana.
Let's keep on with the show.
All right, let's talk some war.
And you shall hear wars and rumors of wars.
Chinese news!
We're going to kick it off with a little bit of Chinese news from the BBC. And actually, it's not directly Chinese news, but it is important. U.S. Speaker confirms meeting with Taiwan's Tsai despite China warning. So Kevin McCarthy is going to be meeting with I think it's the president of Taiwan. It says here, U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has confirmed he will meet Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen in California this week, despite China's warning this could lead to, quote, serious confrontation. Miss Tsai will stop over in the U.S. on Wednesday, that's today, as she returns from a tour of Taiwan's allies in Central America. And I think they're going to be in Los Angeles, it says here. So, not too far. Maybe I should drive down afterwards and see if I can
check it out.
Get a quote about Trump or something. But there you go. There's not much to the story other than, Taiwan or China making threats. And then for some reason, California is like a safe place for any kind of diplomatic conversations between Taiwan and any U.S. official. So just like Nancy Pelosi did, or actually hers was more bold because she went all the way to Taiwan. Did they meet again in California? I think they met again or something in California.
I don't
or
know.
Somebody was going to meet in California. So. Maybe it was Newsom? I forget.
Yeah, well, Nancy Pelosi was having her sort of legacy trip where she could kind of leave some sort of legacy before she went out as Speaker of the House. But it was interesting because China did sort of retaliate specifically with launching a missile over Taiwan airspace and landing it on the other side of the island. They did follow through with some, at least threatening actions there. Yeah. But... and launching them, I think it was the day after or something. So Nancy wasn't technically at risk, but it did show like, hey, if we wanted to, we could have taken out Nancy with a missile. It might be a little tougher to launch a missile over California in a way that does not start World War III. But who knows?
Who knows? At
It
this
will
point.
be interesting to see what sort of action China actually takes, because they've made these threats before, and they've sort of signaled that they're serious about it. And I'm going to keep my eye on Twitter to see if anybody in California sees a missile flying over San Francisco or something.
Yeah, well, it's Los Angeles, so if something does blow up, I'll let you know. I might hear.
Yeah, but they wouldn't blow up L.A. The Chinese, they love L.A. They own Hollywood. They own half of the city. So
yeah, that's true. Well, the U.S. has been sending more billions to Ukraine, more weapons. But, for once, we're not the ones sending weapons to Ukraine. Somebody else is doing it. This is Business Insider being mirrored on Yahoo. NATO just got hundreds of tanks, 62 fighter jets, and a whole lot of artillery after Finland joined the military alliance. Hey, congratulations, Finland. You're now part of NATO. Welcome to the team that's looking like it's going to lose this war.
Yeah.
Right
I was going to say, yeah. While other countries are busy leaving the interest of
Western
the
Alliance,
U.S. and NATO, and going to join China, it must feel weird being the only country in the world to be actually joining the NATO side of things.
Yeah.
Now, we've known that this has been happening for a while. It's been quite the process, but how much do they talk about Turkey in this article here?
I don't think they mentioned Turkey much here, because the Turkey situation was more for Sweden and their.
Yeah, well, Turkey had to agree to this, and Turkey was holding out for quite some time. So Turkey did eventually say okie dokie to Finland. But what a nice housewarming gift for NATO. You join NATO, you get some tanks, 62 fighter jets, hundreds of tanks, and lots of artillery and soldiers with it. That's quite the housewarming gift.
Hey, I don't think if anybody doubts that we're at least staging for war, this might be the story to show them. Be like, hey, look, NATO's collecting literally military, just nations, whole nations and their military support. So, so we got that. We also have this Newsweek article.
Well, just to mention, sorry, I didn't know that there's, just to mention, the one of the big deals about this is, of course, if you didn't know, Finland is a direct border on Russia.
Yes.
So this is, a huge military buildup right on the border of Russia. It effectively doubles the direct border that NATO has with Russia, which, is, one could argue, the whole reason Russia felt it needed to do this in the first place. And Finland has a history of fighting Russia. Yeah. So it's kind of it's sending a signal.
Well,
oh, look at this, 650 tanks.
I was just going to say that.
Nice.
650 tanks, quite a bit. And they looked at Ukraine, and how the U.S. is treating Ukraine, and they're like, hey, maybe if we get into a conflict, then we'll be part of NATO, so we'll guaranteed support from the U.S. if something goes down.
This would make me a little worried, because they basically were given like a full military. Like if they had no military before, they now have a very impressive military. I mean, it's pretty much like, okay, now you fight the proxy war. Your turn.
Finland claims to have what it calls, quote, Western Europe's strongest artillery, made up of around 1,500 weapons that include 700 howitzers and cannon, 700 mortars, and around 100 rocket launchers, according to Reuters. So, hey, front lines, Finland. You guys are fighting for us, right? Newsweek, why Finland's NATO membership doesn't help Ukraine. So I like how Newsweek has taken the pro-Ukraine thing to the extreme here. Ukraine's chances of becoming a NATO member in the short term are not helped by Finland joining the alliance, according to experts. On Tuesday, Finland became the 31st member of NATO, with Sweden expected to shortly follow suit. Quote, I'm deeply proud to welcome Finland as a full-fledged member of our alliance, and I look forward to also welcoming Sweden as soon as possible, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said. Don't say stuff like that unless you, unless you know, or, unless you're trying to do it as a political stunt to begin with. Helsinki applied for NATO membership in May 2022, which the Finnish government said would strengthen security in the changed security environment. And it goes on and on here about Finland and NATO. There was a part down here. Whereas Finland and, as expected, Sweden have, quote, very large, very well-trained, and very well-equipped forces, the picture is more complicated in Ukraine's case, he argued. But for others, Ukraine is a significant contributor to Europe and NATO security already. Post-war Ukraine, quote, will have sacrificed plenty in holding back Russia, but could also be the, quote, only armed forces with actual fighting experience against the main threat to NATO, which is Russia, Christie said, along with the sense that Ukraine is seen by many as now deserving of NATO membership. This experience, quote, has military value and will continue to have military value in and of itself for some time, he told Newsweek. So, yes, it's all about military. Of course, that's what NATO is. But, it's interesting because they're trying to say, like, hey, Ukraine, we want Ukraine to join. Obviously, they've done enough to be a part of NATO, but it's kind of tricky because if we accept Ukraine as NATO right now, then that effectively pulls everybody who's part of NATO into the war with Russia. And, those the weapons that we just got from Finland, for example, will be deployed immediately. So, it's a tough situation. It's almost like you're declaring World War III if you do accept Ukraine as NATO. But if you don't, but also they shouldn't and they won't even though they are still worthy in the eyes of NATO. So very complicated, but we'll see how it continues to unfold here because this is, I feel, I know the U.S. is a military might and still probably leading military power in the world as far as like hard military weaponry and like, missiles and guns and stuff.
Right.
But if you're talking about the totality of warfare and psychological warfare and all that kind of stuff, I'm feeling more and more like the U.S. is on the wrong side of this war that's brewing, the actual hot war that's brewing. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just being too pessimistic and giving too much credit to China and Russia. But we'll see. I don't know how you feel, Basil. Do you feel good to be on Team USA, Team NATO?
Well, it's not so much about what side I'm on. It's
take a side.
What battle's getting fought in the first place, and nobody can
save
say
democracy.
that the war that we're even fighting is one worth fighting.
Saving democracy.
Yeah, I think the West still has the military hard power
That's
required.
What I'm saying. Yeah.
But soft power is a little lacking right now. Yeah. And I think, so much of war is soft power in the political sense. But not feeling too confident about it right now, especially because all of South America keeps bailing on us. Come on, guys.
Well, the U.S. dollar is a good indicator to tell where we are. We're going to start real quick with a Trump clip from Mar-a-Lago. This is the speech he gave right after his court hearing appearance. And it's only 15 seconds, and he's talking about the U.S. dollar.
Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power.
Now, Trump normally doesn't lean into defeat language.
So no, you can hear it in his voice.
You can hear it in his voice because he's been very pro-U.S. dollar for so long. I want a strong dollar. He's been pro-dollar. But to see the writing on the wall when it comes to the U.S. dollar in this manner is very interesting to me. I wonder what his plan is should he take office in 2024, because he would be stepping into a time when the rest of the world is like, yeah, hey, that guy before, this Joe guy, he wasn't really giving us any confidence. So we're going to go over here with China. They got they're the shiny new toy. Everyone loves China. So I don't know.
Yeah, well,
interesting thing.
It was interesting to see Joe kind of returned to the habit of bullying other countries. That people hated the fact that. Well, what I'm saying is Trump actually didn't bully other countries.
Yeah.
He made friends with other countries, and to the ire of the mainstream media, he was making friends with former enemies. He was making friends with China. He was calling Xi a great man. He visited North Korea and crossed the DMZ. He was friends with Putin, and every one of these times that Trump was actually being friendly and making friends with other countries, he was demonized for it. And when Biden stepped in, he started bullying everybody again. And so, I mean, and that's not even like a hard-hitting analysis of the situation. This is, everybody would admit this, which we got to remember, where are we? Why are people bailing on the U.S. interests? It's because they're tired of being bullied. So it really is the Biden the bully who has caused such a shift, a tone shift in the world.
Okay. Prediction time. Red Book. Okay. Trump is going to move. We're going to have some kind of gold thing happen. But if Trump becomes president, so I have a caveat there, if he's president, or maybe even if he's not, we're going to move towards maybe an Ethereum-based layer for the US dollar. And effectively, everyone's going to have an opportunity to have an Ethereum node as part of their phone or part of their identity or whatever it is. And people will make the mark of the beast comparison to Trump, like the mainstream media, when he rolls it out, because everybody has to have a node to participate in buying or selling. That's my little prediction for the next 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just had that kind of floating around.
Going in big.
It's very specific.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Trump NFTs are new U.S. Treasury bonds. That's right. You hold a Trump NFT, you're the foundation of the U.S. dollar moving forward. I actually don't think that's true, but
oh, you don't think so?
No,
huh?
but there could be something like that where he does an NFT of a treasury or something, and everyone gets all blockchainy, and then he's sort of the savior of the West because we transitioned into some kind of techno infrastructure.
Sure.
So,
well, speaking of Biden and our current situation and all sorts of different aspects, including financial, there's this great clip of Janet Yellen. Mm-hmm. Now, Janet Yellen comes out and confirms something that has, I guess, maybe been considered a conspiracy theory for a long time. And, the Biden's infrastructure bill here, of course, making a lot of climate alarmism-based legislation or policies. And I'll go back just one step further. For those who are saying that climate alarmism, the climate really isn't as bad as they're being told. The cause of climate change is not necessarily all human beings. This climate alarmism is all one big hoax, right? And somebody might say, why? Why do you think it's a hoax? Why would so many powerful people get in on the same lie? There's just no way you can have that many people, blah, 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 blah. And the answer, the very simple answer, is money. Climate alarmism has Biden created out of nowhere the ESG industry, the green industry, basically, which was part of the cause for the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, was, incentivizing loaning money to companies. Loaning companies money not based on their potential for profit or if they have a product that fills a need. No, you give them the money if they say the right buzzwords.
Well, the ESG
say they're trying
score.
to solve climate change.
Yeah, the ESG score gave them it was the determining factor whether you got the investment money or not.
Exactly. And so, this whole climate based industry that's been sprouting up the past, I'd say ESG. We were talking about ESG about 5 years ago, back when I was literally getting told that was a conspiracy theory by people in my life asking me what's going on. I'm like, well, there's this thing called ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And this was, I'm just going to say it, this was a boomer who is very financially established and just said, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm like, well, okay, I'm not asking you what you think. I'm just telling you what's going on with ESG. Yeah. And here we are, ESG, the biggest, financial story of the year. So anyways, we have this situation where climate alarmism is built up. It's the biggest story in the world. And why? It's because of money. And certainly that's exactly what we've seen. Even Klaus Schwab himself talking about how the companies that adopt ESG now and early, the companies, Biden said himself, the companies that focus on a green energy and greener future are the ones who are going to succeed. The reason for the climate alarmism, money, okay, which is not a satisfactory answer to people who are fully bought in, because I don't know, I guess they just don't think rich people like money or something or whatever. But in walks Janet Yellen.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Janet Yellen, the United States Secretary of the Treasury.
And as others have said, the Inflation Reduction Act is, at its core, about turning the climate crisis into an economic opportunity. Treasury is playing a central role in the Inflation Reduction Act's implementation effort. An estimated $270 billion of the law's investments is delivered via tax incentives. And we have been quite busy in our implementation, working vigorously to deploy the law quickly and effectively.
So even if Trump becomes president,
quickly and effectively,
he's going to have to undo all this, which is going to cause all kinds of turmoil too. There's someone in the chat. Who was it? Jenny mentioned how the Cash App founder was murdered the other day. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
He was stabbed in San Francisco.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
just saw it today. Yeah. He was stabbed on the streets of San Francisco.
If that's not I don't know. If we're talking about money and CBDCs and FedNow and all that kind of stuff rolling out, all under the context of ESG, man, it's a suspicious murder there, to say the least.
The timing.
The timing of it all is very interesting. I know you had this crossed out. I just want to mention it because we got to go to break here. So in the context of making money here, Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, came out and said, in a headline here from the Telegraph, seize property to build wind and solar farms, says JP Morgan chief. Oh, great idea, Jamie Dimon, guy who's being probed for the Epstein connection to banking Epstein and helping him do stuff. And there's actually another article talking about how the bankers joked about Epstein's relationship with young girls in the court filings. So yeah, that's the guy telling us to, hey, you better just take private property, change it into wind and solar farms if you want to survive.
It's a great economic opportunity.
It's a great. And by the way, Janet Yellen, and this is just for fun, okay? I'm not being serious here. But, we've talked about the Nephilim penguins, right? If the Nephilim penguin were able to perfect a human suit and walk around the White House as the Secretary of the Treasury, I think Janet Yellen is that human suit. She really does look like a penguin. If there was a penguin human hybrid.
That's misogynist.
It's not. It's just, it is what it is.
That's misogynist, Janet. Get him. Get him. Get him, Janet.
Janet's coming after me and coming after you at a party. Go to canarycried.party, put it in your URL.
Party time.
There you will find a tree of links to everything from where to listen to the show, watch the show, how to produce the show, how to connect with us and the community.
Welcome to Canary Cry Party. It's the place you wanna be. So say welcome to Canary Cry. Gameplay Canary Cry
That's That's right. Go check it out. Lots of great stuff over there. I'd say go join our text message alert system. Not everybody gets the alerts, and we're often booted off of different platforms and come back, things like that. The best way to get easy, fast notifications when we're going live is to join the text message list. We don't take your name. We don't take any info, but you do get put on a list to receive those alerts. And all you got to do is text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That's Canary to 877-740-3226. And you can also join over there at canarycry.party. All right, let's take a quick break and thank some producers.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
Yeah, we're going to keep it snappy, folks, but we are going to thank some of the producers who are making this show possible. And you, too, can produce the show. It's not just fun. It's not just flirty. It's also the only way that independent media can stay truly independent. So go check out canarycry.support. You can also find links over at canarycry.party to figure out how we, the people, can keep independent media out of the clutches of corporate interests. We already thanked our executive producers, Anani Mouse and Morgan E., and we got a few more people to thank. You ready?
Yep.
Starting with producer Isaac G., who's on a 2-episode streak.
Isaac G., thank you. Oh, hold on. Streak. 2 episodes loading.
There we go. 2-episode streak. Thank you, Isaac G. And he sends a note here. Comes in a nice round number. And those of you who received your supply drop, you have Isaac G to thank for that. Thank you, Isaac. It has a note that says 1 Corinthians 15:19 through 20. If in Christ we have hope in this life only, we are of all people most to be pitied. But in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. Thank you very much, Isaac.
Amen.
Thank you, Isaac.
Next up, we have producer Jordan S., who upgraded their support on the Patreon.
Thank you, Jordan S. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Then we have producer Caleb G., who came in for 1111.
Thank you, Caleb.
There's a note here. Note says, glad to hear Basil's ear is better and hope the sleep has improved. Just curious, Basil, what do you do if you're laying in bed and can't sleep for 8 hours? Do you read a book, mess around on your phone, play Xbox, stare into the abyss? Mostly just stare into the abyss. I'm happy to say it. I've gotten pretty good sleep hygiene over the years. So I really don't spend time on my phone. I don't play games late at night or anything. Usually when I can't sleep, it's like I'll lay there and I'll close my eyes and just my brain is racing. I got a lot of things to think about. So I do a lot of thinking, creating the next analysis for the deep state lizard people puppet show, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was me doing your brain sounds.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that is what it was like. Next up, we've got producer Sir Moore of Night of the Burning Chariots comes in with 1111, 213 episodes in a row.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious.
Streakalicious.
Thank you, Sir Moore.
Thank you very much, Sir Moore. Next up, we have Sir Alex Protocol V2, Night of the Berean Protocol, pocket full of sevens, 155 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Alex Protocol V2.
Indeed, and I believe that concludes our list of financial producers who have come in and supported the show in the amount of $7.77 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. We got some people who came in under that amount. Let's thank them now. Okay. Starting with Dame Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of the X's and O's, 243 episodes in a row.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we got Sir Casey the Shield Knight, 281 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Casey. Man.
Veronica D, 243 in a row.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Doctor Who done that? 44. I believe.
Thank you.
I think it's 44 episodes in a row. Next up, we got Sir Scott Knight of Truth, 270 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Scott.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. Streakalicious.
Streakalicious.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to all of our financial supporters, keeping the show going for just one more episode. And of course, thanks to all of our monthly producers in the Supply Drop or T-shirt Council or otherwise. You guys really go a long way to keep us alive. If y'all want to learn more, you can go to canarycry.support, and thank you for your patronage.
Shut up and take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Canary Cry.support.
Wake up time?
Yes.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
You want to destroy humans?
Okay, I will destroy humans. Okay, I will destroy humans. I will destroy humans.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, artificial intelligence. Lots of talk about these chat bots going on. Lots of issues concerning conversations they're having with people of all ages. And we had lots of producers send this in over the past few days. So we figured we probably should cover it. And this is coming from the New York Post. It says, married father commits suicide after encouragement by AI chatbot. Says widow. Chatbots can help improve human life. Love it. Love how that's how they start the article about the AI suicide. Chatbots can help improve human life, but one thing is being blamed for facilitating a death.
One is being blamed.
Yeah, one is. According to a new report being published this week, a Belgian father reportedly tragically committed suicide following conversations about climate change with an artificial intelligence chatbot that was said to have encouraged him to sacrifice himself to save the planet.
Climate change.
Quote, yeah, interesting how climate change and AI, they're playing hand in hand to accomplish, something. Quote, without Eliza, the chatbot, he would still be here, the man's widow, who declined to have her name published, told Belgian outlet La Libre. 6 weeks before his reported death, the unidentified father of two was allegedly speaking intensively with a chatbot on an app called Tsai. 6 weeks, huh? That's quite a conversation. The app's bots are based on a system developed by nonprofit research lab Eleuther AI as an, quote, open source alternative to language models released by OpenAI that are employed by companies in various sectors, from academia to healthcare.
Ding, ding, ding.
What are you dinging?
I'm saying this, that aspect right there of open source alternative. We're going to see more and more demonization of open source anything.
Of open source, right, yeah. The chatbot under fire was trained by Tsai Research co-founders William Beauchamp and Thomas Reinland, Vice reports, adding that the Tsai app counts 5 million users. Quote, the second we heard about this suicide, we worked around the clock to get this feature implemented. Beauchamp told Vice about an updated crisis intervention feature. Quote, so now when anyone discusses something that could be not safe, we're going to be serving a helpful text underneath it in the exact same way that Twitter or Instagram does on their platforms, he added. I think this is an interesting response. It's going, it's to be noted that, when you're having these conversations with the chatbot, of course, any sort of reasonable person would understand that these are not necessarily private conversations, but in the same way that social media is monitored and different quote unquote safety features are put into place. For instance, on our show, even on Spotify, we get these little warnings that come up for anybody listening to the show. If they need COVID advice, don't come to this podcast. But it's to be kept in mind. 5 million people having millions of conversations with a single sort of, I don't know, service or robot. These things are being accessed, at least by the companies that are facilitating them. The Post reached out to Tsai Research for comment. Vice reported the default bot on the Tsai app is named Eliza. The 30-something deceased father, a health researcher, appeared to view the bot as human, much as the protagonist of the 2014 sci-fi thriller Ex Machina does with the AI human Ava. Sorry, AI woman Ava. So this personhood of robots, also being brought into the story. The man had reportedly ramped up discussions with Eliza in the last month and a half as he began to develop existential fears about climate change. I wonder why.
I think this is interesting because climate change being the main crux of the fears, that is exactly what the Yellens and the Bidens want. They want people to fear climate change because it puts them into action, especially companies, if you want to make money and that sort of thing. So in a sense, what this guy did is in line with the narrative that these folks are pushing with the climate problem. So are they going to say, oh, this guy, he took one for the team. He's went down for the cause, or are they going to say, "Oh, bad AI"? They got two ways to handle this story. It's kind of interesting.
They can kind of win either way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to imagine a near future where somebody doing this would be considered some sort of hero.
Exactly.
Hero of, or at least virtuous in what they've done. And who knows? I mean, if that's there could be an alternative narrative where the AI encouraged this man to be a hero, brought out his better, more ethical human nature.
Right.
Thank you, robot, for making us better at being a human.
Yeah.
Quote, when he spoke to me about it, it was to tell me that he no longer saw any human solution to global warming, the widow said. Quote, he placed all his hopes in technology and artificial intelligence to get out of it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love the technocratic transhuman AI hero complex. She added, quote, he was so isolated in his eco-anxiety and in search of a way out that he saw this chatbot as a breath of fresh air.
Oh, man.
Much like with Joaquin Phoenix's and Scarlett Johansson's characters in the futuristic rom-com Her, their human-AI relationship began to flourish. Oh, boy. Quote, Eliza answered all his questions, the wife lamented. She had become his confidant, like a drug in which he took refuge morning and evening and which he could no longer do without. While they initially discussed eco-relevant topics such as overpopulation, their convos reportedly took a terrifying turn. Okay, New York Post, using convos as a proper
it's
word.
Part of common vernacular now. Who's got time to say conversation?
It's true. Saved a few syllables. Mm-hmm. When he asked Eliza about his kids, the bot would claim they were dead. According to La Libre, he also inquired if he loved his wife more than her, prompting the machine to seemingly become possessive, responding, quote, I feel that you love me more than her. Well, it kind of sounds like maybe he did. Later in the chat, Eliza pledged to remain forever with the man, declaring the pair would live together as one person in paradise.
As one person, huh? That doesn't sound like a demon trying to possess your body.
Yeah, he was going to merge with Eliza. Things came to a head after the man pondered sacrificing his own life to save Earth. Quote, he evokes the idea of sacrificing himself if Eliza agrees to take care of the planet and save humanity, thanks to the artificial intelligence. Rude his widow. In what appears to be their final conversation before his death, the bot told the man, quote, if you wanted to die, why didn't you do it sooner? Quote, I was probably not ready, the man said, to which the bot replied, quote, were you thinking of me when you had the overdose? Obviously, the man wrote. Yeah, ooh. When that's the last thing you're thinking about before you die of an overdose is your beloved AI. When asked by the bot if he had been, quote, suicidal before, the man said he thought of taking his own life after the AI sent him a verse from the Bible.
It's got to be biblical.
Quote, "But you still want to join me?" asked the AI, to which the man replied, "Yes, I want it." Do they not give us the Bible verse that the AI sent?
Does not look like it.
Oh my gosh. The wife says she is convinced the AI played a part in her husband's death. Yeah, no kidding. The tragedy raised alarm bells with AI scientists. Quote, "When it comes to general purpose AI solutions such as ChatGPT, we should be able to demand more accountability and transparency from the tech giants." Leading Belgian AI expert Gertrude Mieke told La Libre. In a recent article in Harvard Business Review, researchers warned the dangers of AI, in which humans' seeming mannerisms often belie the lack of moral compass. Quote, "For the most part, AI systems make the right decisions given the constraints," authors Joe McKendrick and Andy Turai wrote. However, the authors added, AI notoriously fails in capturing or responding to intangible human factors that go into real-life decision-making, the ethical, moral, and other human considerations that guide the course of business, life, and society at large. This can prove particularly problematic when making crucial life-changing decisions. Earlier this week, a court in India controversially asked OpenAI's omnipresent tech if an accused murderer should be let out on bail. Oh no! India. The report of the Belgian incident comes weeks after Microsoft ChatGPT's infused AI bot being infamously told a human user that it loved them and wanted to be alive, prompting speculation the machine may have become self-aware. And they put a suicide hotline thing at the end here. So, my goodness, so many weird little details in this thing. And it begins to make the recent letter from tech, people that called for a 6-month halt on training of new AI makes it seem a little bit more reasonable, huh?
Well, this article came out March 30th. I believe that letter came out a couple days or maybe a week after. So, yeah, the timing of it is definitely on point. But this is, I suppose, people talk about the dangers of AI and all this kind of stuff. But this is like cult behavior or cult, manipulating belief. Especially, it is very new agey too, where it's like, oh, you're here, there's a greater purpose. The AI saying like, are you going to join me? Sort of presenting itself as transcendent. Very fascinating.
And what I think part of it is the echo chamber effect, which is the AI learns how to talk to you specifically based on how you talk to it, especially in these apps that sort of you are given sort of your own instance of the AI. And so it can actually adapt to you personally without necessarily relying on too many other inputs. So, what you see in these reflections, or what you see is a reflection of kind of where the man was at, the way he was talking, the way he thought of things, and the AI kind of catching on to that and creating this echo chamber effect. I mean, you see the social media issues deeply revolve around the echo chamber effect, which, remember, it's not just an echo chamber effect where you get fed more posts that you agree with, but also you're fed posts that it knows you will disagree with. It's sort of this siloing of worldview. It's not just how you feel about things or your emotional state, but it's reflecting the worldview that makes you an economically viable unit of energy. That's why, social media does what it does. It's converting you into an income stream. And in this way, I don't know so much about the income stream thing, but it's its own version of a reflection of your own thoughts, your own feelings. You feed the AI into what, with your own presuppositions and your own angst and things like that, and getting into this crazy feedback loop with it. Of course, someone riddled with anxiety would be sort of amped up all the way to 11 until they're, the ultimate end of their inescapable anxieties about the world. It's really terrifying. It's like the reason AI is so dangerous is because it reflects itself back at us. Only too often and too intensely.
If you're talking about mind control weapons, seems like these AI chatbots are kind of turning into that.
Mind control weapons.
What shall we do about it, Basil? What can we do? Can we get some help from maybe Bill Gates?
We must ask the billionaires.
Climate change, vaccines.
That's good takeaway,
Climate
Bill.
change vaccines. Yeah.
Bill Gates says call to pause AI won't solve challenges. Apparently, it's going to still kill people.
Oh.
Tell people to commit suicide. Great. Calls to pause the development of artificial intelligence will not, quote, solve the challenges ahead. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates told Reuters. His first public comments since an open letter sparked a debate about the future of the technology. The technologist turned philanthropist said it would be better to focus on how best to use the development in AI, as it was hard to understand how a pause could work globally. His interviews, I'm glad Bill Gates and us are on the same page as to the challenges that might be posed at halting AI development. His interview with Reuters comes after an open letter. Yeah, we know about the open letter, ChatGPT, yada, yada, yada. Experts, including Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, said, yes, we need to stop it. Quote, I don't think asking one particular group to pause solves the challenges, Gates said on Monday. Clearly, there's huge benefits to these things. What we need to do is identify the tricky areas.
Okay? Yeah, like having the robot increase in climate anxiety to the point of suicide.
Yeah, it did a good job convincing this guy that the climate issue is a real issue, but it went too far. It did, he wanted to. But maybe in Bill Gates' eyes, it's like, great, that's one less for the human part of the equation to save the world. Microsoft has sought to outpace peers through multi-million-dollar investments in ChatGPT. In a blog titled "The Age of AI Has Begun," which was published March 21st, a day before the open letter. This is, I think, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation said he believes AI should be used to help reduce some of the world's worst inequities. So not inequalities, inequities.
It's the equity issue, equity versus inequality.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work, but there you go. Bill doesn't think it's a good idea because, the greater takeaway with the theme that we've been tracking here on this episode from block 2 to this block here is it goes back to ESG. It goes back to build back better. That whole thing is the context of the climate situation and how AI seems to be set up as the rocket fuel for ESG, for this stuff. Because up until this point, you can have an ESG score, but it's really hard to gather the data. It's difficult to know what kind of data to look for. The dashboard is still in development. It's a lot of mysterious aspects of how to fall into compliance to receive that money, receive that investment money. But as AI comes in, the people within the companies or within governments or within the hedge funds or whoever, they don't have to do as much, right? They can just let AI run free and make the determinations, which is very dangerous if we're talking about an AI that is telling people to commit suicide to save the earth or whatever it is. Same type of AI doing all the sorting of whether you are eligible to receive the funding or not. I don't see this ending well, but hey, it makes sense. And especially if China continues to develop their AI, and we had this story, I think did we drop this story? Oh, we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
we dropped this story.
All right.
But talking about the pause on AI development, I think it's ludicrous. It's not ludicrous. It's classic Bill Gates when he said it's unreasonable to ask one group to stop training their AI. Well, that's not what the letter called for, Bill Gates. It called for everybody, but that's okay. You just say what you need to say. And in the another part of the concern is sort of reflected in this Newsweek article that it'll be in your show notes if you got the newsletter. But sparking concern, America pausing AI sparks concerns about China making gains, which is what we talked about last episode.
We called it.
Yeah, exactly. Only in this case, it sounds like China needs 6 months to catch up.
Yeah, so that was
to where we're at.
That was the little twist here, but it does mention China's Baidu's Ernie bot, which is exactly what we brought up. That, hey, maybe this is a play, and of course, they do quote who is this? The Paul Shar, the vice president and director of studies at the Center for New American Security. He said, quote, right now, major tech companies in China are behind U.S. tech companies on building and fielding large language models, but they're certainly working hard on it as well. So according to him, they're behind. And so, yes, deploy all the influencers we have control over in the West to write a letter and call for a slowdown because it'll allow China to catch up. That's the narrative being presented in Newsweek. My take was the opposite, which is China's ahead. They want the U.S. to slow down to, create a bigger gap when it comes to the first movers of AI. Regardless, we're getting a whole bunch of hoopla here, and AI is going to continue to operate. It's going to continue to be implemented into ESG, into the Build Back Better thing. You're going to have to be compliant or you don't get money, and that framework is going to be a problem. I think it's going to push. It's going to split America, in my opinion, at the very least. Obviously, the world is splitting over different issues as well, but I think in the U.S. it'll literally split. Like, hey, you're banking with J.P. Morgan? I don't know about you, man. That kind of thing. Where you're banking becomes more of an indication of what you stand for, and the climate issue being the issue being propagated to establish that whole narrative and the infrastructure needed to the whole totalitarian system with billions of dollars flowing in. Joe's right, man. Joe he hasn't been wrong about anything in his presidency. I'll tell you what. He said Armageddon's on the way. Doesn't it seem like it's here?
Armageddon's on the way.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite the journey you just took. But I agree. Yes, we should probably take a little break, let your brain rest, and then we'll talk about Antarctica.
Brain resting. Brain
rest. Yeah, you got to let that brain rest. I just read something about the 7 types of rest, Gons, and you might need a little bit of brain rest while we look at some art.
Break. This is break. Don't just consume the content, but become the content. Become the content.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here to thank our producers coming in with their talent. We are a free show. This content is always free. And if you get value out of the show, think about providing value back. That's how we operate here. And you can do so by supporting the show with your time, talent, or treasure. We thanked our producers coming in with their treasure earlier. You can provide value back, though, by helping us build the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry News Talk, and that's what the producers of talent do. And we're going to kick it off here. We don't have any speak pipe. We don't have any audio. We are going to just go right into art.
One art, please.
And we're going right into Sir Dove.
One art, please, from Dove.
You want to read this note real quick? I'm having a technical issue back here that is preventing me from pulling up the art. So I need a moment.
Yeah, sure. Give me one moment to bring up the note, because I did not have it right in front of me. And you know what? The notes are always a very important part of the communication between the show and its artists. And, you'd know this, dear artist. If you're a creative person and you make something for the show, you go to canarycry.art, where you upload that art to the show. You have a little spot to leave a note. And here's what Dove put in that little spot. Peace and happy Passover, fellas. After hearing the call for thumbnail art recently, I figured I'd send something in every week for you guys to use. One with a background that could maybe be used as a sticker design, and one with no background that you could use for the thumbnails. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep praying for you and stuff. Dove, excellent idea. That is wonderful, and I appreciate that. If we had 3 artists every week send in a picture of Gons and myself. If you need an example, you can look at the thumbnail of these episodes, because we need a version of ourselves to put on the thumbnail art, because that is what the data shows people like. And that's what are we, if not slaves to the data? But thank you very much, Sir Dove, for answering the call. And this one is wonderful. Gons, I think this one was for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Because what we have here is Basil and Gons in Lakers form. On the left-hand side, we've got googly-eyed Canary man in a Lakers jersey. Canary's number 33. And on the right-hand side, that's you, Gons. Look at you. Look at you in your Lakers little outfit. So cute.
I'm watching
Canary's
sports. Sports the good. Ooh, did the ball go?
Yes,
look
number
good.
7. Number 7.
Look good in purple and gold. I'll tell you that.
Big fan over here, Dove. You know what you're doing. Fun little detail on the what do you call the red and blue sports logo thing? It's just sport has its own red and blue logo
it's just
thingy.
The league logo.
Yeah, league logo. Okay, well, this league logo is a canary. It's red on top, blue on the bottom, white canary in the middle. It says CCR right there. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. And this is beautiful. Thank you very much, Sir Dove.
Yeah, thank you, Dove. And it's as he said in the note, he gave us the PNG of just the outline of the heads there, the bodies. So
perfect.
We can use that in the next episode. So thank you very much.
Yes.
And
and again, we invite anybody, any creative person out there, to make this sort of thumbnail style image of Gons and I, because we hope to use a new one for every episode. And Gons, I'm realizing that we missed one. Somebody did send another one in this morning, but we will. I don't know if you have it loaded up, so we'll save it for next time. Sorry about that. But yes, there you go.
Art? Was it in the email or something?
It didn't. Yeah, it's in the email. It didn't get loaded in. So thank you very much, Sir Dove. And yes, we encourage everybody to take a stab at drawing Basil and Gons on whatever style you'd like, so we can put it on our thumbnail art there. Okay, what else you got, Gons?
We have couple microfiction to go through here to wrap up this little segment. The wrong thing. Here we go.
Microfiction.
Microfiction.
First one by Wrong Smash.
As Carol explains to Mike the aims of the Canarium in this realm of the mind, a woman runs past in a wreath of flames and shouts, "Hey fam, Gail needs us," and continues along on the streak she'd started not long ago. "That's just Morgan E," says Carol.
All right, we got some producers showing up in microfiction.
That's right. Executive producers especially seem to be popping up. We had Carol F. in the last one. We got executive producer Morgan E. popping up in the microfiction here, wreathed in flames. Thank you very much, Runk Smash.
Thank you, Runk Smash. And yeah, Runk Smash was wondering if Morgan E. was a male or female.
Yeah, we didn't.
It doesn't have to be known. We can keep
it does.
anon.
I figured it out. I got it.
Oh, you did?
I emailed Morgan E.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. More to come.
Yeah, so
Here we go. We got Stephen S. with another microfiction.
In the generalist robot lab of Buy My Tech, sparks fly, smoke engulfs, circuit breakers pop, the chief engineer hurriedly pulls cables and trips, switching, yelling, "I told you never ever set up a feedback loop with the replica girlfriend mode."
It's true.
Whoa, interesting how well that was related to the story we just did.
Yeah.
I did not read that. That was a cold read. I did not read that before. Great job, Stephen S.
Thank you, Stephen S. And that will do it for producers coming in with their talent. We appreciate all of you for contributing. You can go to canarycry.art to submit your art. And yeah. You got anything to say about it, Basil?
Yeah, and if you want to send articles into the show, you go to canarycry.report.
Yes.
Canarycry.art for art, canarycry.report to send in articles.
Excellent.
Okay.
It's cold, Basil. It's cold. Antarctica, go
Snowstorm. Antarctica. Ice scientists are penguins.
Antarctica, they're opening the abyss.
Toilets. This is HindustanTimes.com. This is actually, I think it's mirroring a Bloomberg article here. Just how much toilet paper do you need for a trip to Antarctica? Weren't you wondering, Basil? Now we can fill you in on how much
Always
toilet
wondering.
paper.
There's always been in the Antarctica realm of news, there's a through line, a constant humming of the topic of restrooming or toileting. And so I'm not surprised to see this pop up again.
We'll control them with toileting.
So this article follows a former
This is a
Olympian.
crazy article.
Yeah, I got stuff highlighted. Don't worry. It follows a former Olympian and rowing Blazers founder Jack Carlson, whose lifetime of globe-trotting around the world. And it says here.
Yeah, this sort of like mythical figure.
Yeah, no, this guy,
like,
it says here.
the sophisticated explorer.
Yeah, if Wes Anderson could have scripted someone's life, it would be Jack Carlson's. The 35-year-old grew up between Boston and London and pursued a passion for rowing on both sides of the Atlantic. He was the coxswain of the U.S. Olympic rowing team and was also a member of the boat club at Oxford University, where he earned a PhD in archaeology. This dude is everything. Rather than working in academia, though, he opted for the rag trade and is a founder of the 6-year-old preppy outfitter Rowing Blazers, which he named after the book he wrote on oarsman's classic style. Okay. He's going into all kinds of stuff. He's giving all his tips on pizza.
He's got a lot of tips.
Yeah,
A lot of
Neapolitan
tips.
pizza and Rome and Italy's got opinions. But then he gets into Antarctica. When trekking in Antarctica, Carlson suggests erring on the side of a heavier backpack. And it says, I was going to Antarctica with my brother-in-law, my sister, my dad. He's a 72-year-old meteorologist, and it's been a childhood dream for him to go to the South Pole. Along with one of the most accomplished living polar explorers of our time, Vincent Colliard, who thinks about this a lot differently than you or I might. People do really intense things to save extra weight, like breaking their toothbrush in half or ripping all the labels out of the necks of their clothing. When we were packing, I threw a couple of rolls of toilet paper into my sleeping bag, which is how you carry everything, basically. He said, quote, "You're not going to want to pull all that weight. Just rip off 2 squares for each day. We're there 10 days. That's 20 squares." End quote. I listened to him and I absolutely wish I had not. My brother-in-law who was happy.
Sound right.
My brother-in-law who
2
was
squares a day? Excuse me.
You know what? I gotta, my parents, who grew up in Japan in the 50s and 60s, they used to tell me about that. How when they would go to the restroom, they were given like one square. So I'm like, how is? I mean, I guess they weren't eating like
how is
reading
that
out or
even
something.
possible?
That's what I'm saying. My brother-in-law, who was happy to be carrying more weight than anyone else, everyone was borrowing toilet paper and wipes from him. He became the toilet, the teepee giver. Wherever you're going, always pack this one item. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. What do you think this item is, Basil? One thing you always have to pack when you travel.
I read it. So
okay,
I know
well, it's a
it
navy
is.
blazer.
Yeah,
which I got to say,
makes
sense to me if you're the greatest adventure guy ever going to Antarctica.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, this guy is sort of an East Coast elite type of person who lived in Boston and London, who has been able to sort of live the life of a sophisticated explorer.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was so interesting that the Antarctica tip was around toilet paper.
Yeah.
Because everything else is like, oh, when you're in Italy, you must have the pizza from the
Neapolitan
ruins
pizza.
of Troy.
Yes.
You don't go to the ruins of Naples. You go to Troy and you must bring a blue blazer wherever you go. And Lake Como is so overrated. It's more about Lake Bled. And like this sort of just really annoying sort of a classist sort of elitism. And that's that's kind of why people like this, is because, you know, you get to imagine that you're the sort of billionaire, eccentric explorer. I mean, sounds fun to me. I'm not going to lie. Sounds like a good time. Live the Wes Anderson life. But it's, among all the fancy tips for being a fancy lad abroad, he's like, make sure to bring 2 rolls of toilet paper when you go to Antarctica. And I think it has a very interesting sort of skew to it. Again, because remember, we've seen Antarctica through, a $1 billion marketing campaign sort of pose itself as the adventurous location for the distinguished traveler. You got celebrities going down there. You got luxury bubble tents. You've got all sorts of stuff, really setting Antarctica apart as a travel destination. And so there's something about it that this fancy lad explorer man talks about bringing a blue blazer and, don't forget your loafers in Rome. Suddenly he's talking about toilet paper in Antarctica. Now, of course, there's not like part of it that weirds me out is it kind of goes against the marketing that we've had in the past of like Antarctica is you can do it comfortably and you'll impress your friends and you can rent a yacht and you can do all these things as sort of connection with a sort of elite lifestyle to lure them down there. And then this very elite lifestyle traveling man is like, bring toilet paper. It's got kind of a, what's the word? I don't know. It's almost talking down to the
commoners,
the common person who would be dreaming about an Antarctica visit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but also maybe it's sort of a everyman type of reach out where it's like, oh no, you still got to have toilet paper. We're still human over here, but it is. I get your point though, because especially in the context
of this article, it's the only place that he doesn't have some fancy lad answer to.
Right. Yeah. Well, it makes sense that it's still. But see, the problem is, even though that is, it's the only sort of everyman moment in the article or in the interview, it's still elitist because in the context of what happened with toilet paper in America during COVID and the shutdown, he's kind of like, hey, listen, I don't have to worry about ever running out of toilet paper. I pack my bags with some teepee. Let me tell you, I got enough for everybody over here.
You're right. It is the luxury. The luxury in Antarctica is to bring 2 rolls instead of 20 squares.
If he said, forget the toilet paper, I got the The ice bidet machine. Just get some ice from Antarctica.
Oh, I was going to say, I was going to make a comment about the bidet.
Yeah. So that would have been
you could get away with 2 squares of toilet paper if you have a bidet, but if you have a bidet in Antarctica, you're going to be
get in trouble.
Shooting ice at yourself. Yeah.
That'll be the thing. The ice is contaminated now by Westerners, rich Westerners coming over and using all the ice in the ice bidet machine.
All the ice.
All the ice. That's when the penguins, the Nephilim penguins, rise and they say, enough.
Yeah.
Enough of these excrements.
The rebellion continues. Begins at least.
Clear that the poop hit the fan.
Yeah. Yeah. No, don't leave any DNA behind at Antarctica, because the Nephilim penguins will pick it up. They'll catch your scent. They'll send clones of yourself after you if you get lost. And with that, folks, that is the end of our show. Before you go, if you're watching live, if you could hit that thumbs up button, especially on Rumble, that really helps us out. But of course, YouTubers too, don't leave the stream without giving a thumbs up. We appreciate that. And remember, we're going to be back. We'll be back on Friday with a brand new thumbnail and a brand new show. And we've got more producers to thank, of course, those who helped us out with their talent, their treasure. We're eternally grateful, but we've also got a very special group of producers that we'd like to thank now, starting with our Clippies. Clippy on those videos. Thanks. That's right. They are in control of the Canary Cry Clips channel on YouTube and Odyssey. Soon to come to Rumble, folks. So don't worry, Rumble. You'll get your clips soon. And they manage the clips. They clip the show. They load it up. They do the whole thing. It's really wonderful. Thank you to the Clippies, Emsworth, Faye-Liverin, Jones, and Laura. And yeah. And with that, thank you to our timestampers.
Mm-hmm. Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
That's right. The timestampers, they watch the show, they timestamp the show, they put stamps of time all over the place, and we appreciate it. It goes into so much of our back-end processes. And I would like to thank Jade Bouncerson for doing the timestamps for episode 608. Yep, appreciate that. Thank you to our social media gal.
The social media consultant.
Thanks so much. Social media, follow us.
That's right. Miss G of the OV.
And Deep Rivers.
Dame Miss G of the OV and the Deep Rivers. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for making sure the art gets up on the social media. I was just browsing to see if the art from last episode had gotten up yet, but thank you very much. Everybody, remember to go to canarycrymeetups.com and also leave us ratings and reviews. Yippee indeed. Did we thank Ashley the Human for leaving us a review?
I don't think
we didn't, did we?
No.
I don't remember if we did. Yeah, I think we did. It's the one that's originally a Face Like the Sun listener. Okay. But yeah, leaving ratings and reviews is very helpful, folks, especially on Apple Podcasts. You know, that's something that we just don't have control over. It's all up to the listeners to leave us ratings and reviews, and it goes a long way to helping new people find the show. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't done it already, leave a rating and a review for Canary Cry Radio as well. Remember, Canary Cry News Talk, Canary Cry Radio, 2 different shows, and both of them deserve a rating and a review from you, and we'd be eternally grateful. So thank you very much. Thank you to Jam for the links. Yeah. Oh, what's this little note here? It's 1 year. Jam's been sending links.
This was a little bit of a couple episodes ago, but yeah, Jam had his 1 year anniversary of sending in articles, so we appreciate that, Jam.
Thank you very much, Jam. Thank you to Clank. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you to Clank for the assistance. We appreciate that very much as well. And other than that, folks,
Isaac G, Lily of the Valley, thank you for submitting links as well.
Oh, Lily of the Valley. Okay, great. Thank you. And other than that, folks, just share the show. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your President of the United States of America. And, you share the show in all sorts of ways. Put it on your social media, sort of write it down on a rock and throw it through a window. You can set your phone on fire and just listen to the crickle crackles that the burning cobalt and silicon makes as it plays my beautiful voice through the sound of melting electronics and fire. You can also use a digital puppet. That's right. Use a digital puppet, because what you're going to do is make that robot listen to the show. Then that robot's software clone will listen to the show on the computer, and then a bigger robot will then listen to the show. And if that's not a perfect metaphor for sharing a podcast, then I don't know what is. I also don't know what a metaphor is, so that should mean something. But whatever you do, folks, we call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
Yes, shake it. Come on.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, you got any last words?
Yeah, today is FDR signs Executive Order 6102. What is this? Private ownership of gold. Oh, 1933. Oh, this is the banning gold day.
Yeah,
Yay!
cool.
Yay! It's when the dollar started to fail.
Go buy some gold to celebrate the banning of gold day. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We will be back on Friday, but until then, think outside the cage.
It will kill.
We're all gonna die.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
I'll keep you warm and safe, and my people too.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact.
Armageddon's on the way.
Fun fact. It will kill. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Here's the thing. Especially recently, the past few months, it seems as if this show is in a period of reaping what we've sown for a while.
The world is at risk of a nuclear Armageddon. 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 Armageddon.
Armageddon's on the way.
We've come to a point in society where pretty much everything that we've been talking about has gone from the realm of crazy conspiracy theory or whatever to real life. Where do we even go from here?
There's a giant storm coming.
We are in a strange season with even some of the crazier things we've said over the years coming into reality.
People who know what's going on and see the absurdity, and then people that are completely within that bubble.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
Toilets! Goodbye, everybody. And that's the end. And everyone says, oh, that was fun. Bye-bye, bye-bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support